Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! ISB!
A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn Emmy winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hey, welcome aboard, everybody. How are you doing? And welcome into Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from high atop the 18th fairway here at the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios on this post-Labor Day Tuesday. Got that one right. Can't believe it. Appreciate you joining us here on this early September Tuesday. Football season full in swing. Looking forward to talking to Chronic Hoosier today. Mike Nizelak from the Bloomington Herald-Times as well. Plenty to talk about as we'll get to, of course, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, powered by Andy Moore Honda. Make sure you go to andymorehonda.com to get more to your door and the best in new and used vehicles. And the family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington and Bedford area, the Wow Food Group, great places like the Chop Shop. We'll be chopping it up all day long here. Speaking of which, John Boy, I sent it wasn't intended to be a challenge, but I know you're busy right now, but a little challenge. I threw down like a little challenge at him. I was like, try this. How you like this, Dustin? Shooty Dustin. He's got the backwards
Twitter name.
Yeah, but I grilled some Gulf Coast shrimp. That all the seafood that comes from Chop Shop is overnighted. It's in the ocean 2 days prior to you eating it. It's mind-boggling. But I had grilled some Gulf Coast shrimp, and it looked pretty damn good.
Well, that sounds good.
So Shooty Dustin's going to have to come up with something, but I will kill him on this. As a matter of fact, I'm going to start doing this like once a week to him. And then we can talk about it on Thursdays when he's with us for sure. But I'm going to kill him on that. I'm going to smoke his butt. Lots to talk about, lots to get to. Nothing bigger than the college football weekend. So many things, so many storylines to talk about there. Of course, Indiana loses in a surprising way. Purdue loses surprisingly. Louisville holds on. Future Indiana opponent, Michael Penix, shined like a Heisman Trophy candidate. Clemson. Can't wait to talk about Clemson and Ohio State. Two greatly overrated teams right now. Let's see. What else we got? Indiana basketball visitors over the weekend. Let's see. Oh, and there's a new NIL bill being drafted right now that targets collectives with the threat of perjury for non-compliance. Specifically, the latest college sports congressional legislation would require collectives managing name, image, and likeness money to submit their contact details for school donors who contribute or risk perjury. An updated discussion draft of Republican Gus Bilirakis' NIL bill obtained by Yahoo Sports prohibits collectives from entering into NIL deals with athletes until they are enrolled in school for 90 days. Wow. It outlaws tampering with other teams' athletes and creates a public-facing database of figures from NIL deals across college sports. So are they saying they're going to make this public, which would be something. It may be the most interesting and unique section of the Fair College Sports Act. The draft targets collectives requiring them to register with an independent third party responsible for overseeing NIL called the United States Intercollegiate Athletic Committee, USIAC. As part of the registration process, collectives would have to disclose their registry of donors. Under penalty of perjury, the draft states collectives are expected to provide the following in the application process, which is basically the information of those people, where they get the money from. So it's a lot more to it than that, but there you go. There's the start of a new NIL bill draft targeting the collectives to make sure that they stay in line, which is a good idea. Never a bad idea. How's everybody doing? We appreciate everybody jumping on the Andy Moore Honda hotline early and often. Fred, of course, from Eastern Pennsylvania. Kent from up in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, where I'm sure it is very pleasant. Tanis over in Ohio, across the border, where the natives are restless, as they should be, as we'll be talking about. He says the sky is falling, and they will lose 3 to 4 games playing. Oh, yeah, there's no doubt that team. Kevin jumping on from Monroeville, Indiana. How are you, brother? The Cubs are now 2.5 games behind the Brewers. Reds tied it in the wild card race too. Mike jumping on. Mike H. And then Mike W. Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, we'll go over that in our picks. Our ISB college football picks. I did not see Purdue losing to Fresno State. That was not one I had picked. Not at home. Justin jumping on with us as well. Appreciate you. Philip Roberts. Hello, Bill. How are you doing, sir? Leslie. I hope you're having a great day. Robert, I think they got there. Here you go. Say what you want about Purdue. At least they could score. There's that. On another note, somebody told him that IU would score at least 10 points. I'm not sure they'll score 10 points against ISU. They certainly will. ISU's terrible. I thought Indiana would score 10 to 14 to 17 points in this game. I thought they would get it late.
Someone mentioned Indiana State. Indiana State in their first week got whooped by another FCS opponent, 27.
Eastern Illinois.
So if Indiana doesn't take care of business and win this game by a score of something similar to the likes of like 42-3 or 42-7, I mean, it would be considered a disappointment if you don't do something like that if you're Indiana.
I don't know if I expect them to score that many points, but definitely should be another shutout or something close to it, as Indiana's defense shined on Saturday, surprisingly so, partly because we were expecting the top-ranked receiving corps in the country to put some fear into Indiana's secondary, and Indiana's secondary, they did okay, minus a gigantic penalty. But the Marvin Harrison was not a problem. Imuku was not a problem. Ohio State also has, I don't want to say a quarterback problem, but they weren't doing a lot. They did just what they had to do. They were just an average offense. And that is what is so disappointing to see for Indiana, because all it would have taken was an average offense for Indiana to have won that game. That was a game that was winnable. How often can you say that about a game with Indiana and Ohio State? Rarely. That was a winnable game Saturday. I agree with you, Sean. Walt Bell then says yesterday about you quarterbacks, it would not surprise me if somewhere down the line both of them are playing in the NFL. If he truly feels that way, let him throw. I don't have a problem with them not throwing deep. How about just throw the damn ball? I mean, are you going to tell me that slants are not open, that just a quick out's not open, that there are not quick, you can't roll your quarterback out? I mean, geez, if you're worried about a little protect, roll them out. There are more RPOs where you actually throw the ball. I can't believe that you've got two quarterbacks that you're expecting to start that are worthy of being a starter, and you've had all this time, and that's the best offense that they could put forth. That was embarrassing. Right up there next to the IU fans leaving, students. But you're not going to get a chance like that against Ohio State very often. And once again, unfortunately, I hate to say it, I've been pretty kind to Indiana football. That was just another crap show on one side. Well, the defense playing their asses off, looking awesome, looking really good. I mean, looking good. That's a positive to take away going forward, because that will not only keep Indiana in games, it will put them ahead in certain games if they can just muster some sort of offense. I think that was a pitiful game plan going in against that team. It just looked like all they were trying to do is just to pretend like they were playing offense and get out of there. Let me tell you what you're not going to do. You're not going to run Jalen Lucas up the middle against Big Ten teams. Against Indiana State, yeah, let him go wild. Against Akron, yeah, let him go wild. Louisville, The rest of the Big Ten, Why wasn't he used in a manner that you could get him the ball out in space, which is where he needs the ball? Get him the ball out in space so he can do his magic. That was just I think that was a really, really, really pathetic offensive game plan. Defense, complete opposite. Looked superb. Coach Guerrieri should take a bow, man. What a debut. How about putting a group of new pieces together? Basically almost a complete new group of pieces, and he did well. Speaking of new group, baby, how about Neon Dion prime time? He told you it was coming. He said it, and boy, oh boy, did they do it. Man, that was not the shocker. Was that the shocker of the weekend?
Either that or Clemson losing to Duke 28-7.
No, that's what I was going to say. Was that the shocker of the weekend? Not to me. To me, Clemson and Ohio State, where I will take Clemson over Ohio State right now. Clemson just screwed themselves. They had 1st and 1 twice and got 0 points. That's bad.
Break.
I think that Clemson will rebound. We've got plenty more to talk about, and we'll get to it here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. We're back with more, brought to you by Chop Shop in Bloomington right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
All right, I got one of the clips ready. You can still save them for later. If you want, there's 2 more that I had to download. I just need to get them cut up, and we'll have them for later on the show.
Well, I'll use them for the 3rd segment. So it's
there you go. So it's on in Fort Wayne. There you go.
I might go get another cup of coffee.
There you go. Go ahead.
I don't have time now.
Still got about 2 minutes.
Not enough time.
All right, 20 seconds, Jimbo.
Free for just $299. That's right. Play as many rounds as you like for just $299. That's better than a birdie. But you don't have to be a student to play at Eagle Point. Go online to set your tee time or call 812-824-4040. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Tuesday, post-Labor Day holiday week. I hope everyone had a great holiday weekend. It was good weather, a little warm, but other than that, you cannot complain. No rain. So you got that going for you, which is nice. Big weekend in football, man. Watched that Clemson Duke game last night, and wow, was that a shocker. And someone mentioned college football's down this year. Is college football down or just certain teams? It is amazing. All I could think about last night is we're in this NIL age, and I'm watching 2 of the teams that have been of the elite here in the last, well, especially last several seasons, 6, 7, 8 seasons in a row. I mean, they've been in right there in the college football playoff, and both of them, Ohio State ranked number 1, Clemson ranked number 9, and neither of them look like top 25 teams. Clemson, it looked a little bit better. They just made gigantic mistakes. Ohio State didn't lose. It's another thing, but had Ohio State been playing Duke, that'd have been a different story. Ohio State loses that game just like Clemson did. Well, I don't know about that. They did capitalize on some big time errors that Ohio State didn't make. But that's a beatdown, man. It was Duke's biggest win in 70 years. But Ohio State showed me nothing. I mean, that's a team. Had they been playing Clemson, they would have lost. Had they been playing about anybody else, I think that they would have lost. That's a game, and it's a game that Indiana should have won. That's the rare time that you get that win. There you go. Not going to happen. Tanis said he's impressed with how Coach Matt Guerrieri is utilizing the players he has on defense. TCU, also another team that went down, that played in the national championship last year. Taterology says TCU also lost a lot from last year, so they may not be that good. They didn't lose that much. They played in the national championship. You want to talk about a team that lost a lot? Colorado. They lost everything. Everything. Well, they retained 11 scholarship players out of 85. So that's a whole brand new built team that he went in and took the pieces from an HBCU team last year. And Aaron Casey is a beast. And whipped up. Man, how entertaining was that game? How good is Aaron Casey for Indiana? Sitting in there at middle linebacker. Indiana has done a good job at having good linebackers here in the last couple of years. He is a man in the middle. He was Aaron Casey, who wears number 44 in honor of George Taliaferro, certainly represented him well in a big-time game. Loved watching that IU defense play over the week. It was fun. They had a shot. This week they play a Friday night game, which that sucks in a whole lots of reasons. The high schools taking a hit because of that. Local high schools will be taking a hit because of that. I believe that locally in Bloomington, you have I think the North-South game, even though it's very early, is this Friday. Bloomington North, Bloomington South. And you've got a Big Ten game going on in town at the same time. BS. Very, very, that's just a whole load of BS. Philip says, how long do you think primetime stays at Colorado before one of the big boys comes calling? Well, what makes you think Colorado's not going to be one of the big boys? They just beat one of the big boys, a team that played in the national championship last year. What? All right. Forgive my ignorance, but I'm trying to think, what conference is Colorado currently in?
They're in the Pac-12, going to be in the Big 12.
I thought so, but I was like, man, I'm getting confused.
Fun fact, though, the Pac-12 was the only conference to go undefeated this weekend, and it hasn't happened since the 1930s, I think I saw.
You're kidding me.
In week one, to be undefeated in week one.
That's amazing.
And the fact that this is going to be their last season as, as the Pac-12.
Clemson is lucky that they're in the ACC this year. But Colorado, oh my goodness. You know what's funny? Do you know what do you know how much fun Pac-12 football is going to be to watch this year now?
Yeah, but you mentioned the ACC a second ago, but the ACC kind of took care of business this weekend. Florida State beat LSU, a ranked opponent, a team that was ranked ahead of them.
I failed
North
to mention
Carolina,
Florida State.
North Carolina took care of business with South Carolina, 2-0 against the SEC. And
wait a minute,
give another dagger to the SEC.
South Carolina doesn't count.
It does count. Listen, the SEC went 0-3 against ranked opponents this weekend. I don't want to hear it just means more bull crap when you
wait.
I'm talking about non-conference SEC opponents. The SEC went 0-3 in their ranked games this week. That's Florida, Utah. Utah won that game. North Carolina, USC, which is South Carolina. North Carolina won that game. And
wait a minute, who was
Florida
ranked
State.
in that game?
North Carolina's number 21.
All right. So they didn't lose.
No, North Carolina won.
But Florida lost to Utah to their second and third string quarterback, no less. I ended up
didn't have Cameron Rising
and blow them out. Who else lost?
In the SEC, LSU lost to Florida State on Sunday.
Oh boy. Yeah, and then your boy. Oh gosh, dang it, Mr. Kelly, the head coach of
Kelly, my family. Let me see if I've got that on here.
LSU's head coach.
Here we go. Let's relive this for a second.
Incredible 12 years of my life for me and my family being here at Notre Dame.
It's a great night to be a Tiger. I'm here with my family, and we are so excited to be in the great state of Louisiana. But
he's so
my
excited.
Family. Well, his family got the tar whipped out of him by an FSU, a resurgent FSU team, man. We talked that FSU hadn't done much because they've been complaining and jawing about things, but LSU did not look good. But yeah, but the ACC, somebody is going to have an easy path. Who's good in the ACC?
I mean, it's kind of hard to tell right now.
Well,
I would say the
usually it's not. Usually
after
it's not.
week one,
Good
it's probably
teams
Florida
stand
State.
up.
It's probably Florida State followed by North Carolina.
That is just to hear the second part of that is
now if Clemson could have taken care of business and not lost to Duke, they probably could have they could have had an argument for being a much better conference. You could have had 3 potentially top 15 teams, and with Clemson, not sure what kind of team you are after.
Well, I've always talked about the ACC being so weak in football. Now you've had their bell cow, Clemson. Whew, they look like crap. But Florida State, I forgot about that they're in the ACC. They look good. They do look good. That's the class of the ACC. They've got an easy. They might have an easy run to the college football playoffs. And not only this, immediately after Clemson lost, I saw a stat that they're already only at a 4% chance of making the college football playoffs now.
Because you don't have much of a chance to make it up in the ACC.
4%.
I mean, you can go 11-1 when here's the thing. If you're in the ACC and you go 11-1, you obviously have to win your conference championship game to be 12-1. And you got to hope other teams screw up after that. You got to hope the SEC's got multiple teams with a couple of losses.
But I'm just shocked, even though that we're talking the first game of the year, and the playoff has been expanded to 12 teams, not 4. And they're already damn near eliminated.
It's still 4 teams this year. 12 begins next year.
Damn it. That's right. But so Clemson's, I wouldn't count them out. Like I said, they just made some historically, horrifically bad. I mean, who has first and goal at the 1 twice and comes up with 0 points? Not only 0 points, but one of them they fumbled and Duke took way back, and I think they scored a touchdown on that drive.
And we seem to be in an era where teams are afraid to kick field goals. And I saw it multiple times in the Florida State LSU game, and it really could have helped
Don't
LSU.
bring me up against
LSU
Indiana.
passed up 2 easy field goals against Florida State in the early going, and they went for it on 4th down and missed it both times.
Indiana,
why are people afraid to get 3 points?
Well, why sometimes why are you afraid to punt the ball when you have 38 seconds left to go in a half to bury your opponent bury your opponent so they don't have a chance to score? Indiana, and the end of the first half, 38 seconds to go. Hey, let's go for it on 4th down because our offense has been so prolific today. Boy, I don't mind going for it on 4th down at all. Even 4th and 7. But this was an offense that did not produce chunk yardage. It did not produce 7-yard gains. And yet you're going to go for it on 4th and freaking 7 from the 40? And what happens? Nothing. Ohio State gets the ball, and what do? Indiana has a stupid penalty, and they score.
I got to admit, it definitely didn't seem like the smartest of calls.
It wasn't the smartest of calls.
I do respect them for being gutsy.
It is gutsy,
though. How is it not gutsy?
I think that is just not smart, is all it is.
Well, here's what you're trying to do is, you had the opportunity if things went your way to go into the half with either a 1-point deficit or a 4-point lead.
I get that, but that was just, I didn't feel the offense had done anything up to that point. So 4th and 7, and the play wasn't even that close to working.
I agree with you. I don't think they should have gone for it, but the fact that Tom Allen wasn't afraid to go for it, I think is commendable. Again, doesn't mean it was the best move, but if it would have worked, let's just say that it had, people would be singing the praises. That's how this kind of stuff always works.
But if they hadn't and they punted, Ohio State doesn't score.
And that's true. Then that would have been the safe way to go.
And you've still got an even tighter game.
Yep. Would have been 20-3 or whatever it was.
Hey,
By
Indiana
the way,
screwed themselves out of this. The penalties, the mistakes, no doubt.
I don't have the stat in front of me, but this is the lowest point total Ohio State has had since I think
30 years.
2017. Was it 30 years? That doesn't
30
sound right.
years. It is. It's supposedly the lowest point total since 1993.
Against Indiana or for all their games?
Against Indiana.
Oh, I'm talking about in general, like the past, in any game they played in the past however many years. I believe it was since 2017 that this is their lowest point total.
No shocker there. Indiana's defense played spectacularly. That's what should be so disturbing for Indiana fans.
Break.
They had such a lack of offense. And here's the biggest thing. Because they're dealing with this quarterback situation. But do you know why they're dealing with the quarterback situation? Well, because Connor Bazelak's at Bowling Green, because Jack Tuttle's at Michigan, because Grant Gremmel's at St. Francis, because Michael Penix Jr. is at Washington, because Josh Hoover is at TCU.
And because Dexter Williams is injured.
And Dexter Williams got hurt. That's 6 quarterbacks. 6. All with experience. All that started games. Every one of those guys I mentioned started games at Indiana within the last 3 seasons. Every one of those guys are still playing today. One of them is getting to be close to the top prospect for the Heisman Trophy, Michael Penix, and a great weekend he had. We'll talk about that as well later. Plus, we've got lots more coming up. Chronic Hoosier's going to join us. Mike Neislick in the second hour from the Bloomington Herald-Times. We've got sound coming up from over the weekend as well. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Wow Food Group right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
All right, I've got all the sound clips ready for us. I got 3 of them. Tom Allen, Jacob Mangum-Farrar, and Khalil Benson.
I should have had you get Walt Bell.
Oh, I didn't. We can do him later this week. I didn't know he said anything interesting.
Well, it wasn't. It's funny. He said I wouldn't pitter patter or something. Damn it, man! No air getting in this thing. I don't think he'll be back for Louisville. Maryland's a possibility. Yep, I agree with you, Kent. Well, did they? I'm not sure, Chris. They definitely
They didn't get sacked very much, did they?
Well, did you see how many passes they threw?
Yeah, but I think that's more about the inexperience of. And here's the thing: it's not that they didn't use the quarterbacks; they just didn't throw the ball a lot. There was a lot of option, and I don't know that was the best game plan. I know you already touched on that, but I think it's just the fact that they're super inexperienced, and maybe.
Well, that's part of it, but I get that. But are you telling me that these guys cannot throw the ball? Literally can't throw a zing, what we used to call zing pass, a slant pass. Just quick roll them out, roll out passes. Boom, boom. If it's there, great. If it's not, run the ball, tuck and run.
I think if they can't do it against Indiana State, we should be worried. But we'll find out.
I'm not worried. See, here's the thing. I'm not worried.
We got 5
about
seconds.
Doing it.
Sorry.
Ring.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of Wow Food Group. This segment is brought to you by Remax Advanced Realty, Indy Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back. Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Tuesday, post-Labor Day weekend. Hope you guys had a good one. Normally, Don Fisher was going to be with us today because he's normally with us yesterday, but he had a conflict, so he will be with us tomorrow. Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News, also usually with us today, can't be with us, and John is going to have to reschedule him. I'm not sure when, if that's going to be tomorrow or elsewhere, but we'll get that rescheduled. Crown and Hoosier on later on. Mike Neidslek from the Bloomington Herald Times in the second hour as well. You know what? Let's go to before I forget, lest I forget, straight to the college pick'em, baby. I've already taken a peek. I went 7-3 over the weekend. John, are you in this?
No, actually, I have not. I do need to join that, but I totally forgot to put myself in that. That's on me.
Yeah.
I was spending the weekend in a cabin in the woods in Martinsville watching college football. I totally forgot to.
Martinsville, Indiana?
That's right. I was in Martinsville this weekend. I haven't mentioned that yet, had I?
No.
I was up in the homeland. Not like a homeland is in where I'm from, but the homeland is in Indiana.
Gotcha. All right. The picks from this past weekend's ISB Radio College Pick'em. I went 7-3. I'm in like there's like a bunch of people tied at that spot. My Purdue got me. I'm like, are you kidding me? 93% of the people picked Purdue to win that game in this. Only 7% picking Fresno State who would win. Tell you who else got me. Colorado. I picked TCU, man. I didn't believe they were going to win. Only 14% picked Colorado on that one. Then I got Cal right over North Texas, which is a no-brainer. Army, that was my third loss. Army, 95% of the people picked Army as well. They lose to the University of Louisiana Monroe Warhawks. Only 5% picked them. So of my 3 losses, one of those comes in which only 5% people picked the winner. The rest of them were had Houston over University of Texas San Antonio. Penn State beat the Mountaineers easily. In a tight one, the Illini edge the Toledo Rockets 30-28. Man, that's the second year in a row Brett Bielema's squad has started out with a squeaker of a game. This time it goes in their favor. Last year it did not when they lost to Indiana, but then they went on an 8-game winning streak. I picked North Carolina over South Carolina. I picked the Tulane Green Wave over Kane Wommack's South Alabama Jaguars. And I picked the Rutgers Scarlet Knights to beat Northwestern, which they did. So there's that. Let's see. I want to see the group. So I can show all. Here we go. All right. JB, Justin, who's on the comment, Andy Moore Honda Hotline comment all the time, in first, along with Brent A. Both went 8-2 over the weekend. Who did Justin miss? Probably Purdue. Yep, missed Purdue. And he missed Army as well, as I did. Yeah, daggone it. He'd have gone undefeated and I'd have gone with one loss. That would have been better. But then there's like I said, there is a gigantic tie there at second that I am in. Rudy, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13 people tied. Well, you can call it second or call it third, I guess. There's 2 people tied at first. So, but, whew, that's a big log jam. And then, now this week, go backwards and see what this week's picks are. Oh, man, navigating. All right, week 2. Notre Dame and North Carolina. 97% of the people have picked Notre Dame already. The second game is going to be the Utah Utes and the Baylor Bears. Utah's already 1-0 with a big win over Florida. They look good. Oh my. I'm picking this one already. And I was thinking about this. The Colorado Buffaloes will be taking on the Nebraska Cornhuskers. And what in the hell is the line on this one going to be? 75? They put 50 or whatever it was, 45 points on TCU. If they put 45 points on TCU, what are they going to do to that hapless Nebraska team? Now, they also gave up a lot of points. They give it up to a good team, but interesting. Also, Jeffrey the Greek. Ooh, I can't wait till Friday. Iowa taking on the Iowa State Cyclones. I wonder if you got a bet on that game.
I was trying to think what the joke was, but I don't know what the joke was there.
Iowa playing Iowa State. I'll bet you on that one.
Oh, I got you. He doesn't. I know JTG doesn't usually bet the Cy-Hawk game.
It's a joke,
but I don't get the joke
because the Iowa and the Iowa State players are the ones in the gambling scandal.
See, now I get it. It went way over my head. Now I get it.
You see what I have to deal with, people?
I know.
I got. Yeah, that was a great one.
Let's. You ready to hear from the football guys, Tom Allen and crew and company?
Absolutely.
Let's start off with. We've talked a lot about Indiana's offensive issues, and Tom Allen addressed a little bit of that in the post game on Saturday night. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I would say it was, probably a little more conservative than we even in that game would like for it to be, so, but there's certain reasons for that without question. So, but yeah, we got to be able to do that and that's going to grow for sure. And we really felt like coming in, you're going to have to take about, 7 or 8 shots, and then a couple of those we had and then got pressure. And so, but at the same time, yeah, there's no question we got talented receivers on the perimeter and got to do a better job of getting those guys the football. But I think you're just going to see it continue to grow each week. There's no question about it. Both these guys can throw the football. But I just think once again, some of the field position didn't help us several times. When you're backed up like that, that's when you make big mistakes and get costly situations. And you don't want to throw picks in those spots. And so once again, 2 young guys, probably a little more conservative than we will be moving forward. But not probably, definitely more conservative than we'll be moving forward. But at the same time, just got to continue to get.
Yeah, and then so what are you going to do next week? Both quarterbacks will play again. Both played obviously last week. That was the plan all along, for which we didn't know that until after the fact. But for Brendan Sorsby to start and for Taven Jackson to play as well, and then this week Taven Jackson will start. Brendan Sorsby will play as well. This is going to be a completely different game. And you at least should get a better understanding of the capabilities of these 2 guys. They always say that the biggest growth in football comes between weeks 1 and 2. Well, we'll see if that's the case for Indiana and which one of these quarterbacks grows up between weeks 1 and 2. Here's the thing. Let's say, and I got to be honest with you, I think that I saw as the game progressed in Brendan Sorsby's second go at it, he started to look a little better as they went along. And I think that is, I haven't one time bragged that I had the starter right, did I?
I know. I was waiting for that. You definitely called that one.
Well, but I didn't feel as such a win when they played them both. And
yeah, because that was one thing you were definitely advocating for too. You're like, you can't give both of them the same amount of snaps, but that's exactly what they did, or at least tried to.
But I will say this, that I do think that Sorsby will end up being the starting quarterback.
And that wouldn't surprise me.
That's going to come in the Louisville game. There will be a starter.
Yeah, the starter for the rest of the season, I think, will be decided after this Indiana State game. Whoever performs.
Well, they pretty much they've already said it. They've already said that. I mean, that they expect that to happen. That they're going to play the 2 weeks, and that the decision would be made. But my question is this: obviously, Taven Jackson is a talented player. You just going to sit him, or if it's the opposite, obviously only one quarter. You can only have one quarterback. I get that, but if it's Sorsby, sitting Jackson just doesn't feel good that he's not involved. If you're sitting Sorsby, it's a little different, I guess. But
and plus, like in regards to like how they could continue their career after the fact, let's just say Taven ends up being the starter. Well, Brendan Sorsby still has his one-time transfer where he can transfer immediately after the offseason and go play. Taven Jackson's already used that. If Sorsby's the quarterback and Taven has no chance in winning the starting job in the future, and he wants to transfer, he'll have to sit out from now on. He already used his one-time transfer. So that's the conflict with that right there.
Brendan Sorsby ended up going 8 of 16, so 50% completion, but only 58 yards. And Taven Jackson was just 1 of 5 for 24 yards. Quarterback ratings of 80 for Sorsby and 60 for Jackson. On the other side of the ball, Kyle McCord, who had a very pedestrian night for Ohio State, goes 20 of 33, 239 yards, no touchdowns, and 1 pick. No interceptions for Indiana. They did manage that because they didn't throw the damn ball. And actually, no turnovers. It was a clean game in that regard. No fumbles by either team, and the 1 pick by Indiana's defense. But we've got to take a break here. On the rushing side, was surprised to see Jalen Lucas just get that many carries. He cannot be your damn he is not your lead back. He weighs 170 pounds. You've got Josh Henderson and Christian Turner, who are really good, and they've got to find a way to get the ball to Jalen Lucas out in space, period. It's nuts. The funny thing is they only completed 9 passes, but to 7 different receivers. Crazy. Purdue loses as well. We've got lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio in the second hour, and we're back with it right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
And if you want, you can use the other 2 sound clips when we come.
Was that from yesterday?
That was from the post game. We can use the Indiana State stuff.
Yeah, don't ever worry about post game stuff again.
No,
Monday, not when there's new stuff. No,
we still hadn't reacted to the post game stuff, so I thought
it doesn't matter
use that first and then go with the other stuff.
Here's
them.
The thing is, they've not seen any tape after post game, so post game is not that good, especially once you have new, fresh material.
That's fine
because Bell said a bunch of stuff yesterday. He kind of got roasted for a little bit.
Well, I'll maybe pull some Walt Bell for tomorrow. Now the player ones, those are from yesterday. They're just short little ones, both about 20 seconds ish. Jacob Mangum Farrar and Khalil Benson. By the way, is Tom Allen's son, he's on the staff in some way, isn't he? I saw him on the broadcast. What is he doing? Is a graduate assistant or
like
something?
a GA thing. What day do you think it will be for Mike?
Maybe, well, not tomorrow. Tomorrow we're pretty booked. Maybe Thursday. Shoot, that just reminds me. I still need to reach out to Todd Golden again.
I told him, by the way.
What'd you tell him?
That I asked him if he'd reached out to you that you were going to.
I initially reached out to him about 2 weeks ago. He was busy, and I forgot. I guess I have forgotten to get back with him just to check in. But I'll see if I can get him for either a time this week or maybe start doing him next week.
That's funny.
All right, we still got a few seconds. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's a good question. Does Dion coach after his sons are gone?
I mean, how old is he?
Who, Dion?
Yeah.
He ain't that old.
I mean, if he's doing well, he'll definitely keep coaching. I don't know why he wouldn't.
He doesn't need the money.
Yeah, but if he's enjoying it, clearly he's enjoying it right now.
Well, but he's enjoying it right now because, number one, he's sticking it to everybody who said they couldn't. And number two, his son is the starting quarterback.
Yep. All right, here we go.
Will most likely.
Here we go.
9 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Feast Market and Cellar. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back to hour number 2 here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Of course, brought to you by our good friends from Andy Moore Honda. Just go to andymoorehonda.com to get the best in new and used vehicles. And the Wow Food Group, great places like Feast Market and Cellar, located at Patterson and Rogers, next door to Southern Stone, by the way. We've been talking a lot of football because there's a lot of football to talk.
You want to go back to some sound, knock these out, and then we can move forward? We heard from a couple of players yesterday. First, we got DB, I believe he's a DB, Jacob Mangum-Farrar. I know he's on the defense. Talked about his performance on Saturday. Let's hear what he had to say.
I felt like I did well. I felt like I could have been cleaner on some of my responsibilities and just my overall playmaking ability and just being more decisive. So I feel like there's definitely room for improvement, but I feel like I did okay.
Who was that, John Boy?
Definitely one of the standouts from the defense, along with Andre Carter and Aaron Casey.
Oh, dude, Andre Carter and Aaron Casey were both just awesome. Indiana with that hodgepodge of misfit toys from the land of
the island of
boys.
Misfit Toys, as Jeffrey mentioned it. Yeah,
there you go. The island of misfit toys, which is what they were. But boy, did they look cohesive. There
you have it. One more. Let's hear from offensive lineman Khalil Benson on how he thinks that unit is coming along through the new system that Bob Bostad is trying to get with them.
Communication, just our improvements from last year, being able to listen to details. Our coach Bostad coming in and helping us get right with technique, while a lot of technical things being detailed in everything we do. So I just think that we're steady improvement, being able to work together better, like I said, communication, and just being more detailed in our assignment.
There you go. What was the I asked this earlier, but there were several. What was the biggest shocker this weekend? You got Clemson losing to Duke, 28-7. Number 9, Clemson, 28-7. You had LSU just getting smoked in Tallahassee by the Seminoles, 45-24. They just beat them like a drum. Let's see. Then there was there's no surprise.
You already
there.
mentioned Deion Sanders.
Well, I did not in this group, but then what's a Colorado or Clemson? What's the bigger? I don't know. I don't want to call it story.
I tell you what, here's my thoughts. I think the way that Clemson lost is shocking, but what isn't shocking is the fact that the past couple of years, Clemson's already been slipping. So when you really think about it, the way that the program has been going, it shouldn't be as surprising as it actually was. It only is because they were facing Duke, even though it was on the road. But I think there's nothing that can be more shocking than what happened with Colorado, just because not only were they playing on the road, they've had all this media attention surrounding them for the past offseason. Deion Sanders has been hyping this up, and almost every time that something like this comes together, it seems like it doesn't work, and that's where everybody's mindset was at. And legitimately, the exact opposite happened on Saturday. And when the spotlight was on them, everything was not going in their favor in terms of, they're playing on the road against a team that was in the college football playoff national championship last year. And to play the way that you did, I mean, they could not have written it better for them to kind of shove it in everyone's faces. And that's exactly what Deion Sanders in Colorado did. So I think when you put all of the pieces together and how shocking each individual thing was, I think there was so much going against Colorado that you have to give it to them for being the most shocking result of the weekend.
Yeah. They were 1-11. 1-11 last year. Was it? I don't even remember the exact number of new scholarship players, but I think it's 86 new players on that team. Took just a complete brand new team and did it. So
I'll tell you what, if this ends up working, I mean, it could have just been a 1 week wonder. I mean,
no.
And I don't think it's going to be. I agree.
Shakur Sanders threw for 510 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's a school record.
Travis Hunter was playing offense and defense. I can't remember how many snaps he played, but he never looked like he was worn out.
Well, he did something that hasn't been done in a century. He had an interception, and did he have a touchdown reception or like 10 receptions or something?
I believe he had a touchdown reception. I can't confirm that immediately, but I do believe he scored in some way.
Well, whichever that it was he did, it hadn't been done in a century, playing both ways. And he got a pick and whatever he did offensively. But absolutely, those are the athletes. Deion went in there and said, we're going to win. I know how to win. I know what it takes to win, and that's what is going to happen here. And guess what? That's exactly what is happening there. So guess what that tells me? That can happen anywhere. If you could do that at Colorado, who is that the bastion of high school football? Hell no. Is that the bastion of college football? Hell no. But look what happened. 1 year. Bam. You can do it. It can be done anywhere. And if you think a team in the Big Ten can't do that with the money that will be coming in soon, if not already, you're wrong.
No, like I was saying, if this works like we see that it's working right now, you're going to start seeing that with brand new head coaches. They're going to start cleaning house and bringing in guys, at least attempting to bring in guys the same way that Deion Sanders is. Will they be successful? I'm sure not all of them will be. But if this is how the future is going to be for college football, And we've seen in college basketball too. I mean, look what Kansas State did last year. Jerome Tang, and they had a pretty decent team. So I mean, we're in an era where you can have a contender, maybe not a national title contender, but you can have a contender in some way, shape, or form in one off season if you have the right person at the helm.
I could have been a contender. I could have been a somebody. I know that one's well beyond you. It's well beyond most people.
What was that?
We'll see if we. I'm going to wait to see if anybody throws that one up in the comments. That one's that there'll be someone who gets it pretty quickly. No doubt about that. Indiana had some visitors in over the weekend. On the basketball side, as I mentioned. And coming up this weekend, an even bigger weekend, as this is the Montverde Trio. Do they sing? The Montverde Trio. Sounds good, doesn't it? 5-star Liam McNeely, Derek Queen, and 5 stars Liam McNeely and Derek Queen, and 4-star Curtis Gibbons. Liam McNeely, of course, long thought to be headed to Bloomington by a lot of people, but that doesn't mean jack squat. Everybody thought that, yeah, it doesn't mean jack squat. I don't even have to list reasons. Flory Badunga was just guaranteed to go to Duke by everybody, and where did he end up? Let me tell you, there's nobody that is doing the NIL business better than Kansas. I truly believe that. I mean, I really believe that. They are freaking killing it. We'll see how that weekend or the next weekend's visit goes. Of course, those are some big time players. Not that everybody coming in is not big time this weekend. Of course, Jalen Harrelson, amongst others, were in. I'm sure as every visit report goes, the visit went well, yada, yada. But when you talk about Liam McNeely coming in next week, he's getting closer to decision time. And so that one is a much more, and he's a 24, and Indiana has no 24 commitments as of now. And I think that once you get that first one, I think a few others will drop. But everybody's doing their own thing now. Guys are not as pressed to make their commitments quite as early, mainly because you got to listen to the offers. Now, the offers used to be, they're offering, so I better take that. Well, now when I say offers, I'm talking NIL, baby. You've got to listen to the NIL. So there's a lot of doors there, and there's a lot more suitors. So there are, as you've seen, a lot of people are committing a little later, and I think that obviously that's the biggest reason of why that is. But Indiana, no commitments in the class of 2024. Not that I think that is a cause for concern, because that's going to happen. It's just timing. Next week's visits, like I said, by Liam McNeely and the Montverde Trio, Crown and Hoosier coming up. Maybe he can lead that group. It sounds like they could open up for oh gosh, darn it. Why am I drawing us? Thinking No Chaser, straight No Chaser. Couldn't get that one pulled out. They can open for straight No Chaser, the Montverde Trio. But very, very important visits coming up each and every weekend for IU basketball. As once Woody gets locked into the season, the visits will continue, but they'll lessen until the season starts and you get guys coming to games. But the visits to Indiana, I haven't even been a part of them, obviously, but I can only imagine how much better they are being received these days by these players. And you can tell by just looking at the level of talent that is coming to Bloomington. You're not going to get them all. If you can get a third, you should be jumping up and down. But Indiana's in that mix. And they're going to get their share. And I think that starts with Liam McNeely. I think he starts the 2024 kick. And then what happens after that, we'll have to wait and see. But I don't think there's any question he will be the first to drop. There are others that are chasing him as well. Texas, of course, his home state, but that really changed when they had that coaching change after the issues with their former coach. But it's absolutely one of the busiest months on the recruiting calendar for Indiana in quite some time. Like I said, it started this past weekend with guys like Jalen Harrelson, and it continues next week. There are top 30 prospects, 5 stars galore. I mentioned Liam McNeely, Derek Queen coming in next weekend. Then you've got a top 40 prospect, Curtis Givens, as well. A few days later, top 45 prospect Austin Schwartz will be on campus. And they're boating at the end of the month. That doesn't include, you've got top 10 Boogie Flan, top 40 Tyler Betsy, and top 45 Jaden Mustaf already taking Indiana basketball official visits this summer. So lots to get to. For Indiana basketball, but they do not need, I hate to use the word need because like I said, I don't think Indiana basketball has any worries about their 2024 class, but I know it's going to be a nice relief for Mike Woodson and that staff when they get that first one, because they know that, all right, things will start to fall here as guys either get into the season. There are some guys that do want to make their decision before their final high school season to get it out of the way so they don't have to deal with it. They don't have to deal with the added media, the added questions, the added college coaches reaching out to them. That will relieve all of that and let them focus on their senior season ahead. We'll see how that goes. We got lots more coming up. We'll continue that conversation as Chronic Hoosier joins us from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, brought to you by Meadowworks Brewing Company. Right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hello, sir.
What's going on?
Oh, just enjoying another post Monday, or not. No, that's the first time I've said that today. Damn. Post Labor Day week, post football game morning or show. I hate to use the word morning.
Everybody's still in preseason form right now.
Well, but teams that shouldn't be in preseason form are in preseason form.
I know it.
The big boys. It was kind of fun watching Clemson get shellacked last night.
Yeah, I was just talking about that here at work. It's funny how much people have learned to love to hate Dabo.
And it does. It's just, and the funny thing is, the ACC's weak. And he has, after the loss last night, there was a stat that Clemson now has a 4% chance of making the college football playoffs.
I can't remember where I saw it. I saw a line last night and said, after a loss that bad, it's probably time to run for senator and start taking away people's voting rights.
Exactly. John, how are you doing from the Southport? We appreciate you, brother. Oh, I can't wait for this game. I'll say it again on air, and I said it earlier. What the hell is the spread for the Colorado-Nebraska game going to be? 75?
Let me see if they've got one out already. Let me see. Oh, it's Colorado 3.5 right now.
Give me a break. Over Nebraska?
I mean, it is a rivalry game.
I don't care. I'm gonna put everything I own on that.
I'm kind of leaning toward what you're thinking as well.
3.5.
You never know. I bet it goes up. I bet by the end of the week it's 5.5-ish.
I don't care.
I mean, it's not going to go up to 10.
They put 45 points on TCU. What are they going to do to Nebraska?
Now, but Nebraska held Minnesota to 13. Now, I don't know what that says about Minnesota or Nebraska, but it could be that Nebraska has a better defense than TCU does. I mean, we don't really know that yet.
How many points did they score?
Did who score?
Nebraska.
10.
Exactly.
All right, here we go. 30 seconds.
Bloomington is your one-stop shop for high-quality meats, bakery items, and now fresh seafood. Chop Shop Market and Table has the largest selection of in-house made products around and everything you need to make a gourmet meal at home. Or pick out a tomahawk steak or a grouper filet and enjoy it cooked to perfection in Chop Shop Steakhouse. Chop Shop Market and Table, a part of the Wild Food Group, is your butcher, baker, and fish house, no matter where you live.
This segment is brought to you by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Hey, welcome back on this Tuesday post-Labor Day. Hope you had a great weekend. Enjoyed lots of college football. Grilling out, maybe. Chronic Hoosier joined us. How was your weekend, sir?
You know, I've had better. Whole household is
damn. Well, there's that.
Well, whole household is under the weather right now. Actually, everybody's back on the mend, but it was one of those where I don't think anybody in my house got off a couch for more than 30, 45 minutes all day on Saturday. So we've been passing around the crud. It's the annual back-to-school Petri dish that is Bloomington not long after move-in, and we're fully infected now on the road to recovery. So happy to have that behind us. Sad to have had to miss the opening weekend of college football in Bloomington, but so is life.
Absolutely. Football season underway for the Hoosiers as they took on the vaunted number 3 Ohio State Buckeyes on Saturday. And, man, that was a game that did not go as I expected in a lot of different ways. Surprisingly good in some ways, surprisingly horrible in other ways, but surprising nonetheless.
Yeah, you know, I think it was both reassuring as well as concerning, to see a defense that's capable of, playing one of the better teams in the nation and standing up. I thought the defense did a phenomenal job of standing up to the Buckeyes and limiting not just points, but explosive plays, which has kind of been the bugaboo around this defense here lately. On the other side of the coin, you've got an offense that now I think I have more questions after that game than I did before the season started. Just really, I don't know, anemic, ineffective. It was a struggle to move the ball, and we've seen this in the past with Indiana, kind of that yin and yang, where they can be really good on one side of the ball and really struggle on the other. And it feels, though, that Indiana's kind of back in that position again, where, half the team, or at least one side, is going to be able to put them in position to compete, and the other one is going to struggle mightily. So I don't know that it's probably wise to make any sweeping conclusions right now after a matchup against a team such as Ohio State, but certainly a lot of questions on the radar as far as how can they get some semblance of an identity on offense going forward. And I think this Friday should give them at least a chance, if nothing else, to hopefully build a little confidence, both in the players, but I think especially in the staff. And you saw that in yesterday's press conference. Walt Bell pretty much owning up to the fact that they played too conservative. They didn't take enough shots, that they were trying to kind of protect two young quarterbacks and not destroy their psyche. But at the end of the game, didn't really do anything that gave them a shot to win the ball game. And it's one thing to hear fans say, best case scenario, just don't get your doors blown off. Don't get embarrassed. That's the best case scenario. I said it last week before the game. I literally said that's, try to at least compete. It's another thing though when you hear the coaches basically echoing those same words. So we'll see if they can't maybe inspire a little more confidence this week. Maybe get a little bit more creative and trying to get some of their playmakers involved. And try to figure out a way to put some points on the board, because as good as the defense was in limiting it, this Indiana team only produced 2 drives over 20 yards the entire game, resulting in a paltry 3 points. And that's just not going to cut it in any league against any opponent, quite honestly.
No, and I know some people say, hey, the guys, they were playing Ohio State, yada, yada. This Ohio State team was not dominant. As a matter of fact, I think that they are lucky to be a top 25 team right now. They don't have a lot of offensive identity. They look like just an average offensive team on both sides of the ball, to be honest with you. Indiana's defense clearly outshined Ohio State, in my opinion. And if Indiana had an average offense, this would have been a hell of a game. This would have been I think it would have been a back and forth game. Part of it was, I think, Indiana's just offensive game plan, obviously we just talked about, was horrible for this because it did not give you a chance to win. And I'm like, how do you set up a game plan that just doesn't do that? I know that they have 2 quarterbacks that they don't want to just throw to the wolves, and I get that. I understand that. But there are also just too many things I didn't see. Why not? And I've said this a few times today already, but why not roll the quarterback out and throw the ball? Why not some slant passes, quick RPOs? They didn't do that. And that's what I'm like, okay, I don't expect you to try to go deep every series, but you don't have to. If you could just run some quick plays, and they did not do that. And I didn't understand that at all.
No, I think everybody that I've spoken with was really kind of flummoxed by just how incredibly conservative they called the game, how just flat. It was just uncreative. There was no, they're just so incredibly risk adverse. I understand the importance of, not giving up catastrophic plays, the pick sixes, the fumbles, the quick 3 and outs when you're deep in your own territory. I understand all of that. But at the end of the day, too, you've got to at least attempt to move the football. I think part of it is you have a staff that's just trying to figure out, who's going to play where in what situation, really just trying to get their arms around their assets at this point in the season. But all that said, when you're within striking distance of Ohio State at halftime, and you don't, knowing that you're still going to give up some points down the road, that's inevitable. Although, I think you also have to look at a defense that went on to hold the Buckeyes to, 2 for 12 in third down conversions. Just extraordinary numbers on the defensive side. Have a little faith in those guys that they're going to be able to get off the field in the event that, the offensive plans don't go well. And, have confidence in them just as much as you do in the offensive guys, and take some shots, take some risks. And if nothing else, just move outside of that comfort zone a little bit, like you said, whether it's the RPOs, the screens, what have you. When you've got guys like Jalen Lucas and Cam Camper, figure out some way to get their names called, because honestly, you've yet again seen a team that's really ineffective in establishing a meaningful running game. So what else is there going to do? You've got to find a way to advance the ball a little bit. And, I'm certainly happy to see that, it's not, let's just go ahead and run the quarterback out there through a gauntlet every drive, and that's just going to be the best, because we've seen how that works out for QBs. But at the end of the day, too, you've got to give them something that gives them a shot to advance football and score some points. Because let's be honest, just playing competitive against Ohio State should never be the goal. And to hear those words kind of uttered in the press conference, I get you've got a lot of question marks, but boy, those certainly were the answers I think some fans were hoping to see.
Absolutely. And going forward now, Indiana, there should be a lot more, I guess, confidence in Indiana potentially having a bowl season, at least when you see teams like Purdue down and this defense. They actually might have a legitimate shot of making a bowl this year if they can get this offense revved up. Numerically, yes, I totally agree with that. They are just, one game below 500 right now, with a lot of football left. All that said, though, I still think we need to see something this Friday that shows they have some degree of offensive competency, of capability. And I get maybe you want to keep the playbook a little bit tight against a team like Ohio State, and not show all your cards early on, to the advantage of future scoutings. But at the end of the day, you got to show that you can do something. And that's just the way the game's played. No matter how good your defense is, eventually you still got to put points on the board. And this is going to be a great opportunity for Indiana, hopefully, to stretch their legs and their arms out a little bit, and do some end zone celebrating, and maybe figure out a path forward here. Because with so many questions on the offensive side of the ball right now, I'm certainly not willing to call this a bowl team yet, or anywhere in that conversation. But I will say, and without being overly negative, I do feel like this is a defense that's going to put you in position to win some of those close games, like we saw last season that broke away from Indiana at critical moments. When you've got a defense that's capable of getting stops like this, especially in key moments like they showed on Saturday, that certainly inspires a lot of confidence that at least you're going to be on that in the competitive realm, no matter how much the offense struggles. But they got to address some of those offensive struggles. Yeah, Justin says he thinks they'll learn a lot against Louisville, and I have said all for weeks that's the litmus test for Indiana's season right there. They have to win that game for there to be the conversation that we're having. For them to potentially be a bowl team, they have to win that game. They don't win that game, I think that it's out the door immediately. And Louisville was tested over the weekend, and it looked like they were going to lose, but that's another advantage they had. They were tested back and forth. Their offense had opportunities and successes of coming from behind. So their offense obviously further along than Indiana's. You've got Jeff Brom there, who's got his quarterback that he had a couple of years ago at Purdue that transferred to Cal and not back. So a very experienced quarterback for him, and so that's going to be interesting to see what IU's secondary can do, because we heard so much about the vaunted Ohio State receiving corps, and it never materialized. I don't know if it was the defense or just the inexperience of Ohio State's quarterback, because they don't have Justin Fields. They don't have CJ Stroud anymore. And it shows.
Yeah. And, that could be one of the benefits as this season lines up to catching Ohio State right off the bat, like Indiana did in their opener, for a team that's also got some question marks under center. exploiting some of those because you got to imagine their staff was probably pretty comfortable in their game plan against Indiana, but also probably like the IU staff was probably trying to be a little bit protective of their QBs and the play calling, and just trying to keep their heads right at the start of the season and not get them off on the wrong foot. But you've got to give credit to IU's entire defense. All three levels, I felt like, did a good job of keeping Ohio State uncomfortable, of not giving up, massive pockets that they could exploit, and limiting those big plays that have been backbreakers for IU in years past. So, this is an example where I think Indiana was able to really leverage the portal and put the pieces together to play some strong Big Ten worthy football on the defensive side of the ball, which just maybe probably exacerbate some of those frustrations with the ineffectiveness on the offensive side, to be honest.
Kent making a good point that I talked that was one of my keys going into the game and coming out of is that IU came out of the game relatively healthy. And that can always not be the case, but you've just gotten through one of the toughest games on your schedule, period. And you got through it healthy. And now you've got 3 non-con games left and one less Big Ten game that you have to worry about. One mammoth Big Ten game you don't have to worry about.
Yeah, I really need to see Jalen show that speed. I don't know if it was cramping injury or what that kind of hobbled him a little bit, but that was certainly one of those moments that took your breath away. But that was also, I think, history as an IU fan, knowing just how susceptible you are to seeing the wheels fall off with one of those early injuries to a key player. So I said it last week, my keys for the game were, don't get so embarrassed that, you run your fans off for the rest of the year, and more than anything, keep everybody available. And that
Speaking of fans, we had the same deal happen again at this game, packed stadium, warm day in Bloomington, no doubt. But at halftime of a tight game against the number 3 team in the country, students gone.
Yeah, that'll happen when you're not playing winning football. That's just as old as time. Honestly, we've seen it here. You see it across the country, and let's be honest, you see it at Bama. When the game's not exciting, you don't have a whole lot of reason to stick around when everything else is popping outside and all about town. And it's unfortunate. It's kind of that chicken or the egg argument. But my thing has been all along, once they show up, and they are showing up, and they have for several years now, under Tom Allen, it's not been a problem of getting fans in the seats. It's keeping them there. And as I've said throughout this, the easiest way is play some winning football, put some points up on the board, get to the point where you can be like Alabama, where you've outscored the opponent so much that nobody wants to stick around for the remainder of the massacre and watching the second and third string guys get some run. But I think when you look at the offensive numbers Indiana put up, it didn't inspire a whole lot of confidence at the close of the first half that you're going to see some barrage of points come in the second half. So it's unfortunate, but I think it's just a reflection of the product that IU's fielding right now. And it's too bad because, like I said, the defense is going to put them in position to win. A couple drives break differently for Indiana, and you get that back to a 1-score game, and now all of a sudden you're in a position where home field advantage can truly be leveraged. But without much confidence that that's even in the cards or in the realm of possibilities, I think you're going to continue to see those exact same scenarios play out. So score some points, man. Points are fun. Points keep people in the stands.
Absolutely, brother. What's up next for you?
Looking forward to the Friday night game we've got on tap right now.
Are you?
Curious.
Are you looking forward to a Friday night college game?
I'll tell you what.
Is this week the North-South game?
It is. And I've got a South football player in my own household, albeit on the injury reserve with a lingering broken foot that doesn't seem to want to heal. But I'm torn. I totally understand Tom Allen's frustrations with it, and I concur 100%. I think it's folly. I think it's greedy, and I think it's self-destructive when they choose to put college football on Friday nights. The staff can't go out and recruit and scout. Players can't come and visit. Fans are torn. Households get split up. It's a bald money grab by the powers that be, just trying to fill up more airtime. That said, I love me some Memorial Stadium under the lights. I always have. It's just, there's something different when the lights are on and the pads are popping. And I will always look forward to that. I just wish it were on some other night of the week other than a Friday night, not to mention on the north-south night here in town. So I'll be there at the Rock and be checking scores from across town on my phone. But I wouldn't be surprised if you see a markedly depressed turnout simply because of the timing of it all.
Absolutely. Chronic Hoosier, appreciate you, brother.
Thanks as always for having me, Jim. We'll catch you next week.
You bet, brother. Next week. Andy Moore Honda bringing you Chronic Hoosier. Back with more Indiana Sports Beat Radio right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
In the market.
All right, Nizelek should be coming on shortly. I haven't heard from him, but I have been reaching out to him. I'm assuming
That's
he'll be
funny.
available.
This is pretty
What
funny.
is?
Somebody posted on Twitter a picture in Arizona that said, "Dear Indiana University men's basketball players and potential recruits, it appears like even people in Arizona follow the philosophy of what would Trace Jackson Davis do. There's a plate that says WWTJD."
Oh my.
Mike is up next, right?
He's supposed to be. I was saying a second ago, I've been reaching out to him. I haven't heard from him, but that doesn't mean he won't come on. So we'll see. All right. 30 seconds.
The Golf Club at Eagle Point, and they have a sweet deal for all returning students, no matter where you go to school. At the Golf Club at Eagle Point, students can play for the rest of 2023 for just $299. That's right, play as many rounds as you like for just $299. That's better than a birdie. But you don't have to be a student to play at Eagle Point. Go online to set your tee time or call 812-824-4040. The Golf Club at Eagle Point in Bloomington.
This segment is brought to you by Hank's Pizza Mac. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Wow Food Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this Tuesday, post-Labor Day weekend. Hope you're having or had a great weekend. I was just looking at Twitter, a funny post here someone put up. It said, "Dear Indiana University men's basketball players and potential recruits, it appears like even people in Arizona follow the philosophy of what would Trace Jackson Davis do?" There's a picture of an Arizona license plate that says WWTJD. Kind of funny.
But there's your rim shot.
Oh, that one wasn't worthy of it. I didn't have much to do with this one, so not worthy of it, but no problem. How's everybody doing? Waiting for Mike Nislak from the Bloomington Herald Times to hopefully join us. And if not, we will carry on. We'll carry over, carry under, karaoke, whatever it takes. Ed says IMG Academy in Florida playing at Ben Davis Friday night. Wow. Holy cow. I cannot believe Ben Davis scheduled them. Ben Davis doesn't have to do that. I mean, that's something that the two teams that are without a conference, I could see doing that. But that is a challenge. I mean, that's a challenge. IMG is just a behemoth. Not that Ben Davis isn't big and a good football player. That's going to be, I cannot wait to talk to Kyle Nedenrip tomorrow about this matchup. And I think there was a big shakeup in high school football in Indiana over the weekend. So we'll have plenty to talk about with Kyle on that. Also, former Indiana basketball player Parker Stewart signs a pro deal with the Sheffield Sharks of the British Basketball League. I have to be honest. I have never heard of the British Basketball League. I did not know there was such a thing, but I guess there is, there's one everywhere. That was announced Monday. Of course, he only played one full season in Indiana after coming midway point through the previous year with Archie Miller. He played in 34 of 35 total games for the Hoosiers, which included 31 starts. So good luck to him. Hope things are going well for him. The official announcement read that the British Basketball League Sharks are thrilled to announce the signing of Parker Stewart to their roster. He's a 25-year-old shooting guard from Union City, Tennessee. Is set to make his mark in the BBL following an impressive college career in the United States. Parker previously showcased his skills at renowned universities such as Tennessee Martin. Yes, Tennessee Martin, that renowned university. But good luck to him. Hope all goes well with that, of course. Wishing him the best. No reason not to. There's also FIBA basketball going on. The USA playing. And Tyrese Halliburton playing well. It looks like. I'm following Dustin DePirick, our buddy, who he just gets a break this week, I guess, doesn't he, John?
He does. He got lucky with Labor Day.
Yeah, no worries. I said I had told you about my the great shrimp that I sent out to Dustin Schutte food challenge. I'm gonna start doing a food challenge once a week. I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna kick his butt in this. I will kick his butt in the cooking area. Now, when I say that, he'll go to extra links and really.
Oh, he will.
Because I just what I just threw out there last night was good. It was just some Gulf Coast shrimp that was seasoned and grilled. And I use a combination. I use both, not just cocktail dip, but I also use that St. Elmo's creamy horseradish. And let me tell you, whoo, my God, it'll hit you. And you're like, I can't take another bite of that. And then you come right back. Eyes running or nose running, eyes teared up. You couldn't, 5 years ago, you could not have paid me to eat half of the things I think I eat today. Whether it's a horseradish sauce. When I was younger, you couldn't have paid me to eat an onion or a tomato for any reason. I don't mean like taking a bite of an onion. I mean onions on something. I don't want onions on anything. I didn't. I do. Now it's crazy. I do. Ed asking a good question. Will they ever have a sponsor to rename Memorial Stadium in Indiana?
I think if they did, it would be similar to the Simon Scott Assembly Hall situation. You have to have a donor. That's the only way I feel like they would do it.
Well, that's what he's talking about. That's what he said. Will they ever have a sponsor to rename Memorial Stadium? Not right now, because there's no value at Indiana for that stadium, because you have to be on TV a lot for that to be valuable. Number one, or it needs to be in an area like down in Louisville. They have Papa John's Cardinal Stadium. Well, they're on TV a lot. Number one.
By the way, just to clear, it's no longer Papa John's Cardinal. It's now L&N Federal Credit Union Stadium. They've since parted ways with Papa John's.
That's right. That's the Louisville and Nashville Railroad. It is. That's what it is. But the L&N Credit Union Stadium, wow, that really rolls off the tongue. Welcome everybody to the L&N Credit Union Stadium. Is that what they call it?
I believe the full name is the L&N Federal Credit Union Stadium. I don't think they're putting Cardinal in there like they used to do with Papa John's. I think.
But see, that's the thing that aggravates me everywhere. I don't care if you put a sponsor name on it, but do not take down the name of the stadium. How can it not be that place? How can that place not be the L&N Federal Credit Union Cardinal Stadium?
Yeah, I can confirm that. There's no Cardinal in the name of the stadium.
Ignorant. That is ignorant. At Indiana, it wouldn't matter so much because it's a very generic memorial stadium. And by that, I don't mean any discredit to the all of the heroes that served that the Memorial Stadium is named after. I don't mean that. There are just so many memorial stadiums. There needs to be an attached name to it. What memorial stadium? Guess what? Illinois has an assembly hall and a memorial stadium,
which they renamed to the State Farm Center, right? Or State Farm Arena.
Yes, I believe.
Like, for example, Kansas, though, I don't know if they recently renamed it or if this is what it's always been, but theirs is David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium, something like that. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if obviously you already got George Taliaferro, the statue. Why not call it George Taliaferro Memorial Stadium or something like that? Again,
because then if you get a sponsor, let's say it's a long name. Let's say Wow Food Group, George Taliaferro Memorial Stadium, or Andy Moore, George Taliaferro Memorial Stadium. That starts to become too much.
Or even call it Bill Mallory Memorial Stadium.
No, you're not going to name it after somebody other than whoever's paying the bill.
Exactly. Well, that's exactly. But the Mallory family is in this theoretical example paying for the donation is what I'm getting at.
But buddy, no, those donations they're in the millions. They're in the millions. That's that kind of a sponsorship. Yeah, that's a big.
They wouldn't have it though. The Mallory family wouldn't have any sort of in on that. I guess you're probably right.
Oh no, brother! I'm talking about this is corporate stuff, man. This is corporate dollars. This is hell, and it would do them no good to pay to have their name on it. I mean, does the field? I should know this. The field does not have a name to my knowledge either. So now we're talking about such and such field at such and such Memorial Stadium. There's two different. There we go, baby. Taterology's got it. Welcome to ISB Radio Memorial Stadium for today's contest. Good idea.
You've already got Hep's Rock. Make it Terry Hepner Field. I'm sure, again, you have to pay for that, but so that wouldn't work. But
David says that Kansas's stadium changed to David Booth Kansas Memorial Stadium.
I mentioned that about 5 minutes ago.
I missed that one. I apologize. He says he thinks he donated a lot of money. I'll guarantee you he donated a lot of money. Those names don't go up for any reason. Ned Fowle's name is not on the golf course because they like the sound of his name. Terry Talon's name is not up on that locker room because they like his name. Simon Scott is not on Assembly Hall because they like to have a name that nobody can spell. So it's going to be the dollar generators, whoever generates the money. But Indiana football is missing out on a lot of money generating. Again, not having the suites. And if you had a press box that went side to side like everybody else has, whether it's Purdue or Northwestern or Kansas, or, Illinois, that would also provide some shade for those people on the other side after a certain part of the day. If the heat was the problem, of course, that becomes a different situation when it gets cold. There you go. Mark Cuban could turn it into Mark Cuban Field, but I don't think he's a big football fan, much less an IU football fan, but you never know. David says IU Memorial Stadium Field of Dreams or where dreams go to die. Just kidding.
Who would Indiana's potential, biggest donor be for football? I mean, obviously, I guess you could throw anybody out there, but.
Well, if you want to say for football specific, I don't know. I mean, is that Terry Talon? I don't know that. But there are plenty of guys that played football at Indiana that have gone on and become successful. But they've got to figure it out. I mean, they've set the deal out last week for people to fill out, and I didn't get to read the piece in the Star, but I saw one that was headlined that people didn't bother to fill them out. Which that's apathy at its greatest heights, man. So there's that. Fun show on today. Tomorrow, you got a big load. You got an extra dose of me and John today, but tomorrow it's going to be a different story. As Wednesday, bringing in the big guns. Pardon me there. Don Fisher on tap for tomorrow.
Probably have a segment of Dylan Sin.
Dylan,
well.
That's right, Dylan. So Dylan, and then of course Kyle Neddenrip and the Hall of Famer Rick Bozich. So we have got a full lineup tomorrow. Talk to Don, get his perspective on what he saw, which was he saw the same thing we did. Don doesn't hold back, but we'll talk about that and the upcoming Indiana State game. Of course, Dylan Sin will join us. We'll talk about all things college sports. I forget if he was covering Purdue or Notre Dame this past weekend.
I know he was at Purdue. He was thinking about pulling double duty and checking out the Indiana game.
That's right. He did not make it down. And we'll talk to Rick Bozich as well. So we'll get caught up on all things. Oh, he went down to the Louisville game. So that's going to be interesting. We can get a good crossover there as Louisville is the Indiana opponent in 2 weeks. Man, I can't tell you how much fun it is to be back. Appreciate you guys so much as always. Without you, we have no reason to be here. Big thanks to Chronic Hoosier for joining us today. We'll get caught up with Mike Niceluck another time. And Mike DeCourcy will be joining us possibly Thursday this week as his schedule changed as well. So big thanks to John, the producer, for keeping us between the white lines. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat.